Okay, so
So
good afternoon, Sally, Mike. My name's Ibrahim. I'm from the Association of Colleges. I am the T-level advisor, but my background is construction, and similar to Mike, we've delivered the T-levels in construction design, surveying and planning, and also the T-level foundation year as well. And here we are. Mike's going to give us a bit of a presentation, and then we'll just hold some discussions in terms of how to contextualize English, maths, digital sort of resources. Is that
Excellent.
okay? So
yeah, that's fine. So as I was saying, Sally, with the maths, generally we don't contextualize too much because it's throughout, it's threaded throughout all the courses anyway. But the other thing I was quite keen to say is what we do at Newbury College, and we're into about I think we're into our second year, so we're finishing up the T levels, and we tried the foundation. We call it the foundation. That's our level 2 program basically.
Yeah.
And we over here we just run plumbing, electrical, and carpentry, which lends to your on-site construction and your BSE.
Mm-hmm.
So we're quite lucky within that. Generally, anyway, we get slightly higher level learners. So how we run it here, we did do last year. We did a transitional pathway, trying literally to focus on the maths, English, and digital elements. The problem is we lost a load of learners along the way because we weren't actually doing construction.
Right.
So, and this is where I'm really keen to speak to people. Say, look, actually, this is where we failed. Because construction learners, ironically, want to put a hard hat on. They want to get tools in their hands. And we focus too much on the English, math, and digital, rather than actually what they're coming to us for as a college, which is to be an electrician, a carpenter, or a plumber. So what we've shifted around this year, we've got a level 1 multi-trade group. They have to come in at grade 3s. And then we've done a technical, the City and Guilds technicals, where they have to have grade 4s anyway.
Right.
So within
and
that,
these are your routes to a T level. They're your
yeah.
foundation for T level. Yeah.
There you go. So our foundation of T level is your level 2 technicals along City and Guilds, and then they go up into the T levels. So what we've found is they've already got the skill set then to move into it, because we knew quite early on if they didn't have the grade 4s and the 5s, because T levels are so academic, they were really struggling, and the drop off rate was quite huge. But what I have got is, so the English normally is one we have to work on the most, more so than the maths, for the reasons that I've said to you. So what I do have is a very good task that we do with them regarding the English. So let me see if I can share my screen. Bear with me, I'm terrible at technology. So, oh, there we go, share screen. That should be nice and easy. Share screen. Tell you what, let's see if I can just share this particular share. Can you see this PowerPoint?
yeah,
We can.
Yes, the system works. So this one is really, really good when they're coming on to do their T levels. Because as you know, they do an employer set project at the end of the first year, core 1 and core 2 exams. Abraham, you might be able to tell me that's changed slightly now. Is it?
Yeah, it's been decoupled. So the core component, you've got the exams and the employer set project, but you don't have to do them in the same window. So the exams you've got to do it in the same window, but the employer set project, you've got the summer window, you've got the year 2 autumn window, or the year 2 summer window.
Because what was happening, Sally, that was a lot for them to do at the end of 1 year.
Yeah.
A lot for them to do, and trying to get all that learning into them, and also keep them busy with actually wanting to be in construction. We're finding it quite difficult. But this, an example of the English lesson, was really, really good for us. So, especially for those who have achieved less than a 4 in GCSE English, Geography, History, it's kind of breaking down the questions they're going to get on the ESP. So if I go through, that's going to let me. That's good. So there's common command verbs, 5-minute activity. We all do the teaching, don't we? And we all go through, and this is always good to get them. They've all got mobile phones, funny enough. So this kind of gets them locked into the lesson in a way because they're playing a game from the off. We then go through simple command words, which is great. But then it's deconstructing exam questions, which is really good for them, because the learners we tend to get in construction can do maths fairly well, because just like Elise showed us, it's contextualized everywhere. In everything they do in construction, we're always talking about material lists. We're always talking about, if they have a bit of plywood, how many boards can they make out of it to fit a room, etc. That's the easy part. It was the English we found was the bit that we needed to work really hard on, because the learners that come to us are very visual learners, very hands-on learners. If you suddenly give them almost like an exam-based question or assignment, they forget the simple things that I'm sure you probably know head of English, and they bang their heads against a wall because they forget all these things. So this is really good. Help them break down the questions they get in their ESB. And it's a really good task that we go through with them. And then obviously we give them some time. So it's an example of BSE questions. So we link it back to obviously what they're doing in T levels. Command words, condition words, concept words. And they find this really, really useful. I'm more than happy to share this resource with you. It depends. Are you delivering any T-level constructions?
No, not at the moment. We're focusing on our early years, which Lee's, I think, leading another breakout room from our college. Yeah.
You just got chucked in here, so I wasn't talking to
myself. In terms of construction, they can have a look at sort of specification writing. They can have a look at manufacturer's instructions as well. That would be really good as well. And sort of interpret sort of construction drawings and use construction terminology as part of that as well. We found
that's why we got things like RIDDLE in here for them to understand what they see on site. And it's exactly like Elise said, and it's kind of like teaching us to suck eggs in a way, isn't it? We all know they learn best if we refer back to what they want to learn about. I imagine you've been head of maths, you've been doing it for a fairly long time. They struggle if you just do one add one, but if you say, okay, you're going to get £100 this day and £100 this day, how much do you make? They suddenly it seems to make sense to them. And it is getting them to buy into it by giving them something that they're interested in.
It is. I mean, there's always that ongoing argument teaching GCSE maths that, we can teach them one add one, and that's what they're going to get in an exam. And then when we start confusing them with 100 bags of this, that's not actually going to come up in the exam. So we sometimes have to be careful that we still have to focus on back to the pure basic maths. I mean, so your exams, are they they're very vocationalized for the T levels, I'm guessing? Yeah. So each exam will be a construction, but they don't do a maths as part of the T levels. There's not a maths as such to it, is there?
It's when they do their core exams. And again, yes, you're right. They won't just be given algebra questions, quadratic equations, nothing like that, of course. But there will be maths lying throughout it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the questions in the exam papers is all contextualized, and the way to answer it as well. When you answer the questions, it's got to relate back to the scenario. But sometimes you answer it quite generic.
So this is
a few marks. So again, it's got to be contextualized to the actual scenario within the question.
So that's really the main resource I have to show on the English side, because as I said, the maths and the digital just comes throughout it.
Comes naturally.
Presentation. So
I
have got an example to show you this. So of a learner that kind of done the year one, shall we say.
So do you permit anyone on a T level who's only got a grade 3 in maths and have to do their maths alongside, or is that just an absolute no?
So we did, and we found the success rates were low. Because the T-level course itself, so when they come to college, we call it a full-time course, and they're here barely 3 days a week, which is crazy. Okay. But when they do the T-level, the course is a lot more involved, and of course they have their industry placement as well. So then you're suddenly almost looking at being here 4 or 5 days. It's almost difficult to fit in the maths English, if that makes sense.
That's what they've said with early years.
So this is why the one thing I've set up here now is this multi-trade to bring them in at grade 3. They work on their maths English because the course then is very small amount of content. Then once they get to level 2, they've got their grade 4s. And then what we do at their level 2, we start delivering what's called technicals, because that's very similar to the T levels themselves. So by the time they come onto the actual T levels, they're already kind of into that learning headspace. And we're in that second year process at the moment. I've got a 3-year plan, and I'm really keen to talk to people when they deliver things, because I'm very open to say where we failed and to try and help people. Look, don't do this. I think we're on the right pathway now.
So let me just ask you a question of people who want your normal level 3 programs, who might want to do a T level after. How are you making sure, because they're potentially not going to have a grade 4 in maths and or English, how are you making sure that they get through as well, so they've got that route as an option? Because that's what we're worried about this year, that we're trying to get them through this summer, and I've got a bit of pressure on my hands with a list of students that, can you just get these through? Oh yes, of course, magic wand.
Don't we love that?
So yeah, there's the pressure on to get them through their maths and English this summer to get them onto a T level.
Watch this space. At the moment, we only deliver T levels. We've pulled all of our level 3 and all of our level 2 programs to sit in line with T levels.
Whoa.
So that is the only route.
Right. So you've really focused. You've gone full on. That's
from
interesting.
above. That's from above, so that's down. It was obviously sitting in line because they are pulling funding for certain level 3 programs anyway. So we've kind of, we've thrown the eggs in a basket.
Wow.
So I'm fully aware, come this summer, I'll be under a lot of pressure. I have 41 multi-trades to see how many of them
who need to get their grade 4. Who then need to, right. So next year, you're still going to carry on with the multi-trade next year?
Yeah, because we haven't done a load of new learners.
So it will be so every year you're going to be right. You start on a multi-trade and you go on to the T level, or you start on what was the other route called?
It's multi-trade. Is that it?
That's
the level 2. If they have the 2 grade 4s, they come in straight away.
That's it.
If I show you, I'll give you a good example.
I think the multi-trade is just a bit of a taster of each of the trade areas, isn't it?
Yes, Mike? Yeah, exactly that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in the T level, do they then focus on plumbing or?
Yeah, let me show you this really. I've done a flow chart.
So Sally, you've got on-site construction, which is generally more focused on bricklaying. Then you've got the building services.
Building services,
well,
yeah.
Which is more sort of plumbing. And then
I like a flow diagram. That's nice.
Yeah. So this took me about 3 weeks to make. I'm not great with those. It's me that needs the digital more than anybody else. So this is my 3-year plan. So you'll see the numbers will go up as we go. But here's your multi-trades, and then from there, exactly like Abraham says, they will have a taste of carpentry, electrical, and plumbing. Now, bear in mind, Sally, some of these learners do have grade 4s in here, but because they're not sure what they want to do, then they filter out to carpentry, electrical, plumbing, and then they go into the T level from there. Yeah. And they either go into on-site carpentries, Abraham said, which is your core there, or your T level BSc, and then it gets confusing, but this is why I made arrows. And it splits out to your plumbing and your electrical specialisms, and then your carpentry specialism. And this is roughly our numbers at the moment on it. And as you can see, the numbers slowly go up as these just filter their way down.
So this is a 4-year program, is it effectively? If you come in at multi-trade, you've then got to go into your foundation electrics, then the purple T level BSc or OSc.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct, yeah. So on one hand, my boss loves it because we get 4 years worth of funding. Obviously.
Yeah.
But then the way I look at it is apprenticeships are roughly 4 years.
Okay.
So it'll be no different, and we do get these picked off here. The good ones do get, and I'm pretty sure this year, our ones that are finishing, we've got good numbers in electrical at the moment. In fact, we've got about 11, 12. Near enough, I would say 85% are getting employment out of this.
Right.
Which is, for me, and I absolutely love teaching and always have done, is the end goal. Yeah. I want to get learners, and this is why I've massively bought into the T levels. Level 3s, the big issues I was having, they were leaving and going to employers. The employers were saying, okay, and that's if they were getting in front of an employer, send out a lot of CVs. Have you got any site experience? No, we need to go get some. With the T levels, not only are they getting in there with employers, they're getting that site experience. Yeah. And it's really benefiting them to actually get
work experience makes a lot of difference compared to your traditional level 3 BTEC courses where they So it's a massive added benefit really. But just moving on to the contextualization of the maths and digital skills. I don't know if you've got any examples that you can show us, Mike.
Absolutely not.
No,
I don't have any for the maths or the digital. I think I slightly misunderstood the brief because like I said our foundation have already got grade 4s.
Yeah.
So
just in terms of like what kind of sort of contextualization of maths would you have in a lesson?
I think what you said before is that it's so natural, it's so organic that it just naturally comes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've taught on, I'm an electrician by trade, I teach electrical. I've taught on it for 10 years and never had to work hard to embed or contextualize maths. The digital was different, but again, once you get onto the T level, it lends itself to it because the learners do presentations, they film themselves, and then what's great is they do feedback. So feedback for other learners, feedback to the teacher, feedback on themselves, and reflect on it. And by the time they get to that T level, they're so into that mode of learning, they're just brilliant. And they really are a joy to work with, and they can see the evolution of what they're doing. Like Abraham said, the work experience, industry placement, You know, these kids want to get out there, and that's where we failed with the transition when we did an extended project. It just didn't work.
Like you said, you know, if you're going for work experience or industry placements, you're going to be facing sort of digital challenges all day long, you know, sending emails, sending invoices, sending specialist construction documents like requests for information, architect's instructions, whatever it is, you know, they're going to be involved with this kind of work. So I think, you know, they're going to be picking up the skills and developing the skills as they go along as well out there, really.
Yeah, and it's a very holistic type of teaching that we do for them on the core. Whereas before it was very specific. You're going to be an electrician, so this is what you're going to do. It's the whole kind of built environment, and touched on to a lot of the renewables, which obviously we know is where everything's going. So yeah, it lends, the maths and the digital are totally lent into our industry anyway, and the T levels.
I mean, that'll be very different for other areas. I'm sure of it. But yeah, very much construction. I can see that.
But what I wanted to do with this talk there is not, because I got a little bit nervous when it first came around, because like, how are we going to? It was a digital more than the maths. But then once we started teaching, once my staff started delivering on it, they're like, no, this is it just lends itself to it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have this special focus. The English one I think is really important. It really helps the learners when they sit for these exams, because they don't like sitting exams. Construction learners. They want to build something, they want to make something.
More hands-on stuff that they want to do, don't they, really?
Exactly. So the English one that I showed you is fantastic for them, just to work and break down the exams from an English point of view. But you put a maths question on there, they're generally pretty switched on with it.
And have you found you've lost students? I'm now going off piste a bit, but you're losing students because a 4-year program is a bit of a commitment. Are you losing students along the way much?
We only lose the good ones because they get jobs. They get apprenticeships.
They get poached
but then the thing is, so that's what I want. I don't see that as a loss. So the whole point when I take them on day one,
destination is a positive destination.
Exactly that, and we're very fortunate that the principal, the vice principal, see that as well.
Okay.
That it is a positive destination.
But you can't take anyone in at that level. So once you've lost those multi skills you've lost them, haven't you? You can't get people in at that higher level.
No, that is what it is. I'm never upset by it because I want them to get into industry. So if they come to me, it is a difficult thing. We always thought about this at Abraham, when I spoke back to you a long time ago. It's like, our employers just going to poach our best ones? Are they just going to come? But of course they're not going to, because they want to work with us for years to come. If they keep poaching 2 or 3, we will stop working with you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's no different. The old school level 2 and level 3 is the best lads picked up an apprenticeship.
Yeah, I think.
Well, yes. I'm finding they're missing maths lessons to go on a job a lot of the time. I'm finding at the moment, because they found jobs and things, but they're wanting to carry on with their course, but not the maths or the English. So yeah, so similar boat.
Yeah. So Sally, as part of your head of maths role, do you work with any of the curriculum areas to sort of embed the English, maths, digital skills, anything like that? Do you work
do you know what? At the moment, they haven't come to us. I think that our biggest one at the moment is Lee Jarvis, who's in one of the other breakout rooms, who's with early years, and she's working so hard herself to sort of like work with her staff to embed it in a very vocational way into early years. So they haven't actually come to me yet. However, what they have come to me for is these learners. Like I said earlier, we've got about 7 learners on early years who their next progression is T levels and T levels only. So they really need to pass. So we're at that, not as formalized as yours, Mike, but you know, we're effectively on that multi-skill levels, trying to get them through their maths, well, for me, maths and English, to get them onto a T level.
Yeah, I mean, we have yielded and taken some on, but we found they struggle a lot more.
Well, that's what Lee has said as well.
So, and they can do their maths English beside it. You'd rather they didn't, because it's a lot to take on, obviously. The one thing we're doing the multi-skill when it finishes this year, we're sitting down and guys that have at least worked hard and progressed and made their step forward, we will sit down and have a discussion about taking them on next year, because it's still not actually the T level. So they can still fit it in around their level 2 program, almost 2 bites of the apple, shall we say, and then they move on to the T levels. It's a very, what I say, Sally, is when we first delivered it, I sat down and looked at the content and went, wow, this is academic compared to what we've been teaching before. So I kind of knew straight away, if they haven't got the maths English, they're going to really struggle. And lo and behold, I think T levels came out a year later and said, yeah, they're really struggling if they don't have the maths and English. So I think we have the right model in place, as you saw from my lovely flow chart. I have a good 3-year program on it because I'm aware it's not going to happen overnight. I'd say the same to you guys. If you're stepping into it, don't expect it to just work straight away. Give it, you know, it depends on your hierarchy if they have the patience for it. You know, it's not going to yield results straight away, but I do think it's great for the learners, just to get them actually into the industry rather than just a bit of paper saying I can do a bit.
I think very much before, you know, when we delivered the level 2 traditional BTEC courses, you know, they were doing the GCSE English and Maths, but it was very much standalone. You know, they just went into these sessions and it wasn't sort of contextualized within industry. But now I think the focus is more on sort of, you know, contextualizing within construction, within education years, and just applying, like Mike said, you know, that question regarding foundations, that question regarding U values, that sort of maths question, and then for them to understand it in a more contextualized way. So I think that is the way going forward for the foundation year and the T levels and any other courses as well, really. Yeah, I mean, have you got any sort of resources that you can share with us, Sally, in terms of maths, English?
I'm pretty sure she's got loads of maths.
Yeah, there's loads. Yeah, loads of maths, but not vocalized. I mean, like I say, I'm preparing them all for a GCSE, a very, very mathematical GCSE. So I'm really conscious to not contextualize. And it's interesting because my principal, I think he's having a meeting. I'm not even sure who with. I don't know whether it is AOC, but he really is quite keen on introducing vocationalized GCSEs, and there being a GCSE for construction learners, a GCSE for engineers, and a GCSE for early years. Which it will be a huge undertaking. And he got me to adapt last summer's GCSE paper into an engineering. Now, obviously, I'm no professional. Well, I am in the respect, I'm no like vocational professional.
Don't put yourself down.
I know. I did feel like I was shoehorning, and I kept thinking, "Oh God, this is awful." And I don't know enough about engineering. I did sit with an engineering specialist, but I did it. And he's got something to present, and it'd be interesting to see what people think of it. And I think he's got a meeting in a couple of weeks' time to present this as to whether it's a viable option.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, it's not a thing. I think he's wanting to be the pioneer.
Oh, don't you love those mavericks?
It's a good idea because, you know, they're in these different areas, but you know, the questions that they face with, they just don't understand it in, you know.
Well, this is it. So I found that a lot of the low-level questions, the AO1 questions, are the basic pure maths. So that I got to the first almost half of the paper, and it was just, I couldn't change anything because I would overcomplicate the question by shoehorning a bit of, you know, engineering into it. Towards the problem-solving questions, the AO3 questions towards the end, they were, but I had to then, I wanted to directly change it, so I had to keep every word the same apart from putting engineering things in. So it wasn't brilliantly done, but it did prove a point that you can do it, but there's still some pure maths in there that we can't avoid. Whereas I'm guessing the maths that you get in a technical qual is going to be very much around what they need to learn for their technical qualification.
Yeah, of course. It's just interesting hearing that, because I used to quite like it when they did, is it functional skills?
Functional skills, yeah.
So yeah, I quite liked it when they did
Which is now regarded as a bit of the lower level, you know.
Isn't it just? It's a shame.
Sadly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I do tend to agree. I'm in one hat, I think, that's a great idea. If you're doing early years, you should do an exam in early years. Yeah, brilliant. I like that idea, and you're focused. However, how many students do we have on our traditional courses that are actually on early years, but they don't actually really enjoy it?
Yeah, I know.
Sadly, we do get people who are enrolled on a program that they're just plodding through it, and they don't actually love that bit, and they potentially just need their maths and English to progress onto something that they really do love. So I've got two hats on this. It's a huge investment if somebody went through and did this and did a call for every area.
Mike, I've got a question.
Isn't it just?
Yeah,
you're going grey at the look of that, at the thought of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm glad it's on your end, not mine. Sorry, Abraham, go on.
I was going to ask, you know, as part of the T levels and the foundation year that you're delivering, do the students get involved in quite a bit of project work? Anything that's sort of set by the employers, anything like that? And as part of that project work, are they doing some sort of holistic work that sort of includes English, maths, and digital skills?
Well, we did. So this is what we did. So we delivered a year ago. We delivered what's called the extended project.
Yeah. Okay.
Because at the time, my boss thought this would be a great idea because he was focused on the English, maths, and digital. So we had, I want to say 25, 30 learners on it.
Yeah.
And yes, it was great. We could set projects, they could do presentations. The problem is, because it had no qualification in it, construction qualification, 3 learners passed. It was and I had, not saying I told you so, but I had advised him there is no way construction learners are going to be happy doing an extended project about a cinema room, about rewiring a house with renewables in it. They love the thought of it, but they want to go do it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Abraham, yes, we did that. It failed, and it failed miserably, which is why this year we turned it to the level 2 technicals. So we're still under the T-level banner as a foundation year, but we actually have a qualification within it.
Yeah. Okay.
We haven't, I think we lost 3 learners. Whether they'll pass or not is another thing, but we'll have much more success and they'll be much more suited for the T-level. So what I'm quite cautious of, and I'll try and advise any other colleges I speak to, don't focus too much on the English, maths, and digital over exactly what Sally said, what they really want to do. Because what you don't want is learners, I know you said you had learners on early that don't want to be there. We had lads on construction that weren't doing construction. They were doing an extended project, which just bored the living daylights out of them. And they're like, so that's...
Yeah. I mean, you've got the extended project, but you might have other mini projects as well that they might be working on, just short sort of scenarios with a few tasks, relating to sustainability, a bit of health and safety, a bit of building regulations, that all sort of, you've got your English, maths and digital skills as part of that as well, because, they might need to produce some sort of construction drawings. You've got your digital skills in there.
Well, that's what is in the City and Guilds technical. That's exactly why we took it on, because we spoke to, is it the TQAs? So you love this. So it used to have EVs. Now you have TQAs, who are basically the EV, but they do the T levels.
Oh, tech.
And there you go. Yeah, they would love new names and titles. And they were the ones that advised us to do this. And I sat down and looked at it. I went, "This is perfect. This literally just aligns it brilliantly." There's no. I was really keen to come on here and speak to you a bit to do it. You don't need to overthink it. You don't need to panic about it. It literally is set out for you. And what I worried with this when I looked at this a couple of years ago was the English, maths, and the digital. How do we better? How do we do it? My manager above me, I felt overthought it, and then put in place a course to lean towards the English, maths, and digital, and forgetting actually, if we don't do construction with them, what are they? They don't want to be here.
They don't want to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at the trades, if you're looking at the brickies, the plasterers, the joiners, they're in that course because they want to learn the practical side of it, not so much as the theory side to it, but that comes part of it really. But
And Sally will back me up. We all know if we can put their veg in their spag bowl without them knowing, they'll eat it. If we can slip in the maths and the English and the digital without them knowing about it, they'll eat it up and they'll learn along the way without realizing it. And because we all know as well, as practitioners that we are, the more you can be enthusiastic about it and passionate about it, again, they will eat it up. And if you're giving construction staff an extended project that they know just doesn't work, they will struggle to be enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my advice.
Agree.
Some good points there. So Sally, so what sort of examples have you got for maths that you would sort of contextualize within other areas? And have you got anything that you can share with us, or any examples talk about?
Do you know, I really don't.
Right,
I really don't.
second.
Not from a central maths point of view. It really is just teaching maths.
So it's just the core side of maths, then just going through the exam preparation, the questions, just...
I mean, at the end of it, that is my focus at this moment in time, to get people through the GCSE. Not at all on the technical side of things. And like I say, Lee hasn't actually come to me to request any support, because I think she knows what the maths is in early years and what she needs to be able to deliver to them on the early years technicals. So hasn't felt the need, which is interesting, hasn't felt the need to come to me really.
Is that something that you'd like to propose or go forward?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. More than happy to. Yeah. Be interesting to see what they're going to get at the other end of the sausage machine. In some ways.
I know there's been a lot of research put into the contextualization of English and maths, within sort of level 2, level 3 programs, and it does make a lot of difference, when it comes to sort of the attainment and reaching a higher grade and passing the GCSE as well. So, it is a proven sort of area that, contextualizing it within the vocational area, it does seem to work a lot better, I would say.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I think, most providers need to sort of adopt as part of their GCSE model.
Yeah. The difficulty is, and I'm not saying we can't do it, is that our teachers are stretched for a start, and also teach over so many different areas because they're a centralized maths team, and therefore, what in the morning they might be teaching media, and in the afternoon they're teaching early years, and then so for them to look like experts in all these areas or ask them to do that is really difficult. I mean, I do try to keep my staff in as much as possible in a certain area, but
I couldn't agree more. And this is what I try and really am keen to talk to people about T-levels is don't be someone you're not. Be authentic, because that shines through. So we all know, if I turn around to a bricklayer and said, right, you need to know everything about digital and English, he'd kind of look at you. But when you then show them the scheme of work and the resources, and it lends itself, and he's like, oh, I can do that easy.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And that's the most important message to get across. This, don't be scared of it. When I saw the titles, I was originally scared of, like, how am I going to do this? Because you've seen me with IT, it took me ages to do a flowchart. So when it was like too digital, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But once you sit down and work, you're like, actually, this isn't difficult at all. You don't need to make a mountain out of a molehill. Just deliver the content with the passion that you have for your trade, your industry. And it'll make a huge difference. I mean, I feel for maths teachers massively.
Well, if I had like pots of money in my department and I could have a member of staff per area, I would embed them in that area, absolutely, and they could really work hard on that. But we haven't, and I can't recruit for maths teachers at the moment. I really am struggling. I haven't normally struggled until this last recruitment phase. Can't get anyone, and then with the extra hour that I'll be teaching next year,
I feel your pain. Try employing an electrician or
we know that too.
Carpenter or a plumber. That on site, 70 grand a year, and we're going, well, come here. There's loads of kids that want to annoy you. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
I was speaking to one provider, and they've got quite an interesting model in the way that they embed and contextualize GCSE English and maths. So with the GCSE sessions that you probably have like 3 hours a week. That you've got with the foundation year students. So what they've done is they've split the 3 hours into 3 different sessions. So the first hour, they're sort of just focusing in on the sort of core areas for English or maths. So just looking at the questions, the algebra, the fractions, the scales, anything like that. The second hour, they look at sort of contextualizing it within industry. So they might get one of the vocational tutors in and sort of work with them. And I know it's a bit of a logistics issue and timetabling issue, but to get them in together to focus in on the contextualization. And then the third hour, the final hour that they do is more sort of exam preparation, exam technique that they're focusing on. So they've split the 3 sessions that they've got there. And it seems to be working, quite well, to be honest.
What they're doing for the 4th hour now.
This is it. They're going to keep increasing the hours out there. So, they'll have to come up with a new tactic on that.
The 4th, well, they'll be using something digital like Century Tech
AI
or something.
Like that, artificial intelligence to sort of answer the questions. But that's a good...
Get them to answer them for them. That's a good idea.
But so that's you get different approaches in different areas, but I think that one's quite unique and different.
That's a good one. I like that one. It sounds feasible, but double staffing as a session sounds interesting. A number of years ago, and I'm probably talking 15 years ago, I used to work solely as a maths teacher in the sports department, and I used to go into the gym with them. Goodness me, I was younger then, and we used to like go on the rowers and do our heart rate and things like that, and I can do that, I can understand that, and that's maths. Like, it's not proper shoehorning, it's not me being an utter alien, but I think if I tried to walk into on a building site with a hard hat on for a start and my high heels, just wouldn't go. But
I'm fine with my high heels on, don't worry.
okay.
They're very accepted nowadays.
Well, true. There is that, But I kind of think that me trying to say, I understand the right angles of that something roof. I'd look really stupid, you know, and it won't work. So there's a point where you're the expert at that, I'm the expert at the maths. You know, I think you have to draw.
Yeah,
the
what we used to do at one point, we worked with an old college I worked at, Southampton City College, is there was a good guy in maths who was head of maths there, and we got on really, really well. And we tried a little thing where can we bring him into maths and almost contextualize it, like you're saying? How can he work with the apprentices to contextualize the maths? So I'd give him a scheme of work of what I was working to at the time, and he would go away and come up almost with a lesson plan that could work with that. And again, electrical installation, we're okay with that because a lot of ours is, you know, cable calc formulas and things like that. Yeah. Be interesting, like you said, if we went to a brickie and tried to work it in there. But it has been tried. It's not as outrageous as trying to get a GCSE per specialism, which is your principal's going to love doing that. But at least it was good to collaborate and try. It was to give it a go. But the problem is, as you know, as we all know, it's the time. Have we got the time to really try these and then implement them and see the impact at the end of it?
That's it.
And a lot of times we don't have the time. We don't have the staff. Everyone's stressed, and it's a shame because I love education. I love teaching, and there's so many things you could sit down and go, oh, I wish I could do this, wish I could do that, and it's just realistically having the time to implement it.
I think we have to leave, by the way. I think I saw ready to leave room, did I? Is that right?
I always get told to leave. I don't know why.
Oh, did that just pop up? Because no, I'm sorry. I think I must have moved my mouse and the little thing said leave room. I thought that was reminding me. I must have knocked my mouse and it's popped up.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I mean, like, for example, calculating how many bricks you need as part of a wall, you know, there's always stuff like that, which, you know, you general GCSE maths tutors should be able to, you know, sort of work towards. I would say, you know, those are just sort of very basic scenarios, aren't they, really? But, you know, there are some really, really difficult technical situations where, you know, you do need a bit of industry sort of background knowledge and experience to sort of understand and answer the question. But you know, that's what we're preparing the students for. So, you know.
You are right. It's easier to walk on a building site when you're 6'2" and 17 stone. So suddenly they kind of expect you to be there. So it's a lot easier. So yes, I get exactly where you're coming from there. It's just always trying to do what's best for the learners and trying different techniques and ways.
So in terms of the national technical outcomes, how are you finding that as part of the foundation year, Mike, and, you know, managing to cover all them?
Sorry, say that again, the technical outcomes?
Yeah, so, you know, the national technical outcomes that you got for the T-level foundation,
No, remind me.
Yeah, so you've got your 3 main technical so you're doing the T-level foundation year,
Well, we're doing the City and Guilds technical qualifications.
Yeah, as part of that, but you're doing the T-level foundation year and you've got the qualification attached to that?
Yes, exactly that, yeah.
So as part of the T-level foundation year, you've got certain national technical outcomes that the students will have to cover and you'll have to assess as part of that. Let me just show you. You know what I'm talking about.
You'll know what it is. It's just got different words.
As it always does.
Sure, yeah. So Shakespeare. This is Shakespeare. It's this document here. Can you see that?
Okay, yeah, I can see the document, yeah.
T-level foundation year. So each route, they've got their own national technical outcomes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is for
yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, you've seen that. And you've got 3 different outcomes for that. So outcome number 1, you've got develop ideas to meet planning requirements for sustainable projects. Then you've got design sustainable construction projects. And the third one is where the students get a bit of an insight and get some practice into a specific trade area as well. So they're producing a sustainable construction project out of that.
See, I think this is where the extended project lent perfectly to this. But the problem was with it is they didn't do enough of actual construction.
Yeah.
So, and these things really need to be amended to sit in better with what the learners want to do, because all you do is you end up losing learners because you're trying to shoehorn in bits like this, like the sustainable. I mean, they do that anyway. And obviously, producing things, they're building bits all the time. They have an assessment at the end where they do a massive build.
Yeah, but they could have like a smaller route-based project where you've got a certain scenario. So, for example, you're designing and building a new housing development, Okay, and as part of that, you've got, if you think about all the different areas of construction that they need to focus on, you've got your health and safety in there, you've got your sustainability in there, you've got your maths in there because you'd have to work out areas. You'd have your science in there as well because you'd have to work out the different types of materials that would be best to use and types of loads that you're going to be exerted onto a building, for example. You'd have the design side thrown in there, you'd have building regulations. So as part of that one project, if you think about it, you've got all the different topic areas that you can throw into it as part of that and make it like a holistic project, which is quite good, isn't it? Because it sort of assesses the students' knowledge, skills, and behaviors from different areas, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So yeah.
CAD drawings, yeah.
So again, if you look at this, it's got some sort of English, maths, and digital skills that you can sort of embed as part of that as well. So if I keep going down here, so built environment, and then can you see this part here, Mike and Sally? So this is where you can map in English, maths, and digital skills as part of a national technical outcome. So for example, interpret planning information and data presented in different formats. It could be specifications, it could be drawings, it could be Gantt charts, anything like that. Maths, calculating areas, estimating lengths, ratios, geometry, and then digital skills, carry out and refine internet searches. That's pretty straightforward. That's something that they do most likely on a day-to-day basis. Apply software functions to enter and format information and data. So that could be Excel. It could be some sort of specialized software that you might use as part of construction, that kind of thing. So this document is quite handy when it comes to mapping in the English, maths, and digital skills.
Yeah.
And do you have to prove each one of these?
So you'd have to cover
projects
in terms of content and in terms of assessment. Yeah, you'd have to cover most of all the criteria as part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the national technical outcomes, if you go onto the website, you've got them for each different area. So education early years, you've got it for construction, you've got it for other areas. Well, yeah.
All the others, yeah. So long as you've written a project that incorporates all of those, which isn't difficult from a maths point of view in construction, then you've ticked the box, as it were.
Yeah. So if you go down here, so for example, building technology, it tells you what to cover as part of that in terms of knowledge. Then you've got the science bit there as well. So like we said, structural members and the loads, mechanical properties. There's a bit of building services, electricity thrown in there as well, science, and then properties of materials, performance criteria of materials thrown in there, sustainability. So this is the content that needs to be covered and assessed as part of the national technical outcomes.
Yeah, we've got all that. We have folders for them doing their presentation, their deliveries, and everything. Yeah, that's easy enough.
Yeah, and I've always thought, when students do presentations, they can cover a lot of the content, a lot of the areas within just one presentation. So I think that's a good way to assess it as part, as opposed to doing report writing, leaflets, and other sort of, assessments there as well. So presentation.
Yeah, it's just the presentation they can cover so much in that presentation.
Yeah, and you're developing the communication skills, presentation skills, and the other areas as well, aren't you?
So how long has it taken you to develop that T level, Mike?
We're in officially the second year of it.
Okay,
so,
but how long in prior to? Must have been a good year in the making, was it?
Yeah. If I'm honest, it's like anything, Sally. I was very lucky. I've got quite a young team in construction, so they hadn't spent too long doing the diploma style teaching.
Okay.
So change wasn't so scary to them because they really didn't know anything anyway. So they'd only maybe been delivering diplomas for 2 or 3 years. So it wasn't too difficult to implement. We got the resources well in advance. We went to lots of the conferences. We were skeptical, of course, like everyone was, but we were led very well from up above. They were like, this is what you're doing. And I came into it, I was more on the teaching side and then got promoted up to where I am now. So at one point, I was very much on the other side of the fence. I was looking at the resources, looking at everything and going, like most people, this is very academic for these learners. They're doing lots of classroom-based learning, lots of what Ibrahim just showed there. I'm like, they don't want to do that. They want a screwdriver in their hand. They want to be cutting cables to the wall. They want to be bashing in boxes. So we were skeptical to start with. But once we looked at the resource, and by the way, the T levels are fantastic with the resources they give you, which is great as teachers. And they're like, yes, I've got to write my own resources. Takes a load of the pressure away. The bit that took the longest was building the links with the employers.
Yeah.
For the industry placements. That took easily a year And we've got a fantastic lady called Sarah McFall that has worked tirelessly. She's now second, third, but she's bearing fruit now. We've got all of our students will finish their industry placement hours, and then they're already lined up for next year and the year after, and she's been amazing with it.
Wow.
But that took the longest. The industry, like anything, Sally, I could give you the materials of something to deliver it. You can go away, it'll take you maybe a week at best, and you'll be set to deliver it. You know, you'd sit down, you'd look at it, you'd spend a few nights with a glass of wine, you'd go over it, and you go, right, I can now deliver this. Building the links with the employers was absolutely the key part of this.
Yeah, I think it's maintaining the relationships and just forming them as you go along, and just you know, employee engagement, just getting them as part in the curriculum, co-planning, co-design, co-assessment as well, and just, you know, giving them it should be a two-way system. So, you know, you get industry placements out of them, but how can we support them as well? As part of the T-level.
Must be a huge advantage having a potential workforce down the line.
Sally, I say to them, we are a free agency.
Yes, you are. Yeah, absolutely.
And I try and explain that to them. And when they come in, and we've kind of really built this area, and we built it just as COVID hit, right? And we're getting back there now. But when I speak to a lot of employers, I'm like, use us. We're a free agency. We can, because we had some come in, Abraham, when we did T-level events in the college, and employers have come in. I remember sitting next to one, and he was moaning and moaning. He was carpentry that they can't find the labour, they can't get the lads to come through.
Okay,
and I went,
here I am.
Yeah, I said, I've got 30 carpenters over there. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you think we do here?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I didn't really know. And it's things like that. And then suddenly they're totally interested because they can see that the workforce for the next 20, 30 years.
Construction, you've got a massive skill shortage, you know, you've got a massive labor shortage in there as well. And this is what the T-levels is about. We're preparing the next generations, future generations of workforce to get ready for construction. So it's a win-win situation for them, really, isn't it?
I can't stand when I hear, and I still work in the industry myself because there's so much money in it. And I hear employers saying, oh, staff shortage, labour shortage. I'm like, just come to the college.
Yeah.
Like, you know me, you're employing me as it is. Come to the college.
Churning out these people.
Exactly, and you won't have a labour shortage.
Yeah.
And the sooner they get involved, the sooner the learners can get off their phones, because they're a nightmare with it, and start to realise what actually employers want from them.
Yeah.
Get them on site, get them enjoying it, get them understand how much money they can earn and the career they can have in front of them. It's an absolute win-win. And that's why I'm so supportive of the T-levels. I still think there's major tweaks that need to be done with it. And one thing I say to you, Sally, is the T-level themselves are very good. When we give them feedback, they do take it on board and they do make changes. And it's like anything new, isn't it? It never works straight away anyway. I remember my first ever Dyson was rubbish. But it got on. So, you know, it does take time, but I do really believe in the T-levels, and I think as long as people are honest with their feedback, it could be exactly what we needed.
Yeah. Excellent. Can't wait.
What's everyone up to at the weekend? Anything exciting?
So Mike and Sally, we're going to head back to the main room at 4:20. So we've got 10 minutes, but would you be, Mike, would you be okay to share your examples of English and an example of maths and digital that you've done?
Well, I'll tell you what I can show you, because what we were talking about regarding the T-levels.
An example that you can share would be brilliant, and to the main session as well.
Well, I don't have for the maths and English because, like as we discussed, it lends itself to it, so we don't have to work hard to flog it, shall we say. But what I do have is, let me share this with you. So where we clicked on leave room, where we this one here, we were talking about the presentations, etc. This is one of the learners, and this is all his presentation that he does, everything he works on. What's on? Let me scroll up now. Try and go back into it. He's got his presentation at the top here, but it won't let me go up. So there's his actual presentation that he did, which was fantastic. He did a PowerPoint around it. The feedback that they give. There's an example of the presentation. Might be one of the PowerPoints. So yeah, this is along the lines of when we're talking about digital, and these are lads, when you first sit with them, you know, they're like, I can't do that.
I won't be able to do that. Yeah.
And he did it
very well created, isn't it? Really,
it's amazing. He did it all himself. So when we're talking about obviously what with the English and the maths and all that kind of stuff, it encompasses it in it. And I think, I'm sure he won't hate me for showing a little bit.
It probably won't, the sound won't share.
Yeah, and there he is, yeah, delivering it all, which is just
Bless him.
And I think, Mike, for the T levels, you know, you've got the employer set project and the occupational paper, and as part of that, my understanding is that they've got to produce a presentation and carry out a presentation as well. So, you know, like you've just shown us, you know, it's professionally created. You know, you've got
it's fantastic work for these young lads. They're 16, 17, and what's great, Sally, is actually the enjoyment they have on their face when they say, "I produced that."
I did it.
And yeah, exactly. And they take it home to mum and take it home to nan, and you know, they show them, I did this, and okay, we try and get them to take their hats off when they do it, but not all of them do. But
No,
it's just So when it comes to that point, that's when we all know why we're doing this job, because you get that real proud moment in you that they're really growing up, and you can see the achievement on their face, and they love it.
Yeah, you can see the transition from first year to second year in terms of, you know, developing the skills and, you know, the behaviors as well, you know, because in the first year you can tell, you know, they've got a lot to learn, and in the second year you can see them, you know, just becoming more confident and getting better.
And that's why I'm really looking forward to this plan I've got in place, this 3-4 year plan, because from the multi-trades all the way through to T levels, like when you take a learner almost from foundation up to level 3 and just seeing that journey with all of them, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep, brilliant. I'm going to stop the recording now, if that's okay.
Yeah,